What's up, everybody? So, I've been doing a lot of research about geology for the last few months. Something perked my interest. It correlated to a research paper published by Mr. Firestone in 2007, which proposed that Michigan was hit by a comet sometime around 13,000 years ago, and that was actually the event that killed all the megafauna, like the saber-toothed tiger and the woolly mammoth and the great sloth and many others. So I'm out today in the Rogue River State Game Area, and I've been driving all around. It's a very big area, and picking up trash, a water heater, and seeing a lot of trash and kind of getting frustrated with that. So I kept on leaving different trash-filled sites, and I'm glad I did, because it led me here, which basically kind of in the northwest corner of the Rogue River State Game Area, there's a large hill, and like I was looking for mushrooms initially, so I was looking for hillsides that I could hike around and scavenge for mushrooms, and that took me here, which I was hiking on this hillside, and actually that's down the hillside right there. But a feature that is at the top of this hillside is nothing less than an elliptical crater, which is pointed almost directly back at the Saginaw Bay. So these impact sites, which actually, now that I think about it, there was actually something very similar to this in the woods in Ada where I grew up. There was a large gravel pit, which was basically a large, weird, just a pit in the ground. And when we were kids, we used to ride our bikes out there because it provided this nice gravel ridge line, and we used to dive in and out of these big bowls with our BMX bikes. But this is actually a much bigger one and a much deeper one than what we had when I was a kid. I mean, that was a very small one. This is very large. What I believe this actually represents, and I'll walk around it here with you because it's pretty big. I mean, if I point down here, I'm gonna go ahead and climb down. This is probably a good 20 to 30 foot down to get into this hole, and it's just filled with rocks everywhere. There are all kinds of rocks all over this state game area, big rocks. And according to Firestone's theory, a comet hit the ice sheet, which had 2 miles of ice, down inside this top layer, and there's actually kind of like 2 separate areas here, almost as if what happened was there was a large impact, and that comet basically hurled several cubic miles of ice, mud, and boulders from the bottom of Lake Huron and blew it up in a massive excavation, which sent all this debris in all directions in these clusters of ice and boulder and mud, and they all landed and created these elliptical craters that point back towards the Saginaw Bay. And that's exactly which way this is pointed. There's a road that's just over there heading west, and that's what this is, east and west. No, excuse me, east is that way. That's the way to Saginaw Bay. West is over there. And this is almost absolutely conclusive proof. These features are actually all over the eastern United States of America. Many of them are kind of, they're plowed into fields and stuff, and you really can't tell that they're there. This is an absolutely massive one, though, so there's no way this is going anywhere. I mean, somebody would have to get an excavator out here to fill this in, and it's, covered with trees and stuff. That would be a big job. And it's state land, so that's never going to happen. But I think these features, and this in particular, this is a very, very big and conspicuous one. These are your conclusive proof that there was an impact at some point in time, because these elliptical shaped craters are all over the eastern U.S. They're not all this big, but they can be seen, including places like the Carolina Bays and the Nebraska rainwater basins. I've been following a lot of videos. Chris from the Dabbler's Den has some really good information on this, as well as Antonio, and I can't pronounce his last name, but he is an independent researcher with degrees in education from, I believe, Ohio State University and some other highly accredited places, who has also been doing a lot of simulation science, where they're using computers to emulate the trajectories and physics of what was involved, so that they can actually understand the event better. But I think this is definitely an elliptical crater pointed at Saginaw Bay. And by the way, if you're a rock hounder, there's all kinds of awesome rocks out here. Like, I don't know what that is, but I bet it looks like it would polish up pretty well. That is basically why I got interested in rocks lately, is because I decided that if there was any way to confirm that there was an impact in Michigan, the rocks would tell the story somehow. And what I have found is what I believe to be a very, that looks like an agate, actually. So we have a lot of agates. I believe agates may very well be, not so much agates, but we do have some agates here, but we also have all different forms of crystallized quartz. We have a huge concentration of, and I believe this actually may be, yeah, it is. It's a very hard stone. This may be a piece of sandstone that then became crystallized, so it would make it quartzite. So we have a large number of boulder to, palm-sized rocks that were probably sandstone 13,000 years ago, but because of a massive thermal event, such as a massive impact, they became crystallized at the surface. And so we have a large number of these at the surface here in Michigan. I've also been looking at a lot of rocks under the microscope, trying to identify shocked quartz, and I think I found some. I actually brought a box of mystery rocks to Central Michigan University, where I went to school, left them at the geology department, and asked them to just kind of tell me what they think about them. Some of them, I believe, may have shocked quartz in them, and look, I'm not sure what that is. It may be serpentine. Kind of looks like it. But anyways, if you are a rock hunter, or if you're looking for mushrooms, or if you're fascinated with the geology that may point to a comet impact in Earth, this is a really cool place to check out. Again, northwest corner, I believe it's like a 21 mile or something like that, and Sparta Road, just east of there. Ooh, what is this? That's interesting. Got like lots of bands in it, lots of different colors. So anyways, I hope you're having a great day, and take care. So after I found the first definite giant impact site, I picked up a bunch of rocks and started heading back towards my car, which, by the way, is parked at this very crater looking spot. I'm not gonna show it to you right now because there's a guy over there, and apparently everybody just comes here because it's state land, and there's a big, huge, hole in the ground. So they come set up their targets and drive their car right next to the road and blast away. So as a result, there are all these other holes in the ground that I've found since I found the first one that was clearly, had a full border. But when I got here, I didn't really think too much of the fact that there were other holes in the ground, because I mean, sometimes you see them. But there's a whole cluster and a whole series of indentations in the ground. And here's another one here, and it kind of curves around that way. But this one is clearly also oriented in an east-west fashion. And so it appears that there was a whole cluster of debris. Here's more of a ridgeline here. And every single one of these holes is just full of large boulders and just gravel everywhere. And just a wide diversity range of rocks, just all sorts of different types of rocks, many of which do actually look rounded. And then unfortunately, the closer we are to the road, there's just trash everywhere, which really just kind of really aggravates me. This is a really beautiful place to come around and hike, and it's really sad to come out here and see all this trash that people just left here. So I'm not equipped to pick up everything that's here today, but man, there is a lot of trash at this state game area. So maybe one of these days we should organize a group effort to come out here and kind of clean it up, because it's pretty bad. But if I show you, I'll probably like pick up. This is another one of the smaller ellipses, but even these smaller ellipses point right back towards Saginaw Bay, which is that way. So there must be dozens of them here. All of these little impact sites are all pointed towards Saginaw Bay. And there are amazing rocks at every one of them. So I'm taking a lot of rock samples. So if you'd like to help me get down to the bottom of this, I actually believe I know where the impact was. And I would like to mount a diving expedition. I've got actually at least 1 or 2 dive buddies, but if you're a rock hound and a diver, I definitely would love to partner with some experienced divers that want to go check out a spot that I believe is where the primary first impact took place. And because there was 2 miles of ice there, I think it's likely that there are actually still comet remains at the bottom of Lake Huron, and basically the opening of Saginaw Bay. And if that's true, might be some pretty interesting stuff to check out. But having said that, yeah, I don't usually promote my page, but please like and share this content if you are interested in getting down to the bottom of the mystery of whether Michigan was hit by a comet or not. Yeah, if you want to support me without liking and sharing this page, tell your family and friends that I do insurance. I do health insurance and life insurance, and I would love to help you, especially if you're in the Mitten State. That's where I live. I do have some other non-resident state licenses, so I can help you in some other states, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Just call me if you want to find out more. Here's another cool rock. Check this out. I don't know what this is, but it looks to have a lot of carbon content, and it's kind of glassy. It's possible this could be a carbano or an impact diamond, so I'm basically picking up everything that's dark and glassy looking, including rocks like this, which I believe this rock is actually the Smoking Gun. I can't show it to you right now, but there are a lot of these, some people call this hornblende, although this is definitely not a pure hornblende. Actual just hornblende is black, and if I got real close to this, you would see some black in there with the green when I look at these in my microscope. They also look quite different sometimes when you peel a little bit of the patina off with a grinder. The inside often looks quite different than the outside. But I found rocks similar to this that seem to have impact quartz, basically shocked quartz, which is basically quartz that on a singular crystal level have parallel lines in the crystal, which indicates, because quartz doesn't fracture, it fractures conchoidally, which is basically irregularly. So it's not supposed to fracture in parallel lines like that, and that only happens when a massive amount of pressure strikes the rock. But this is an interesting one. I'm going to have to take this one home. I'm basically collecting pretty much all of this type of rock, whether it's a hornblende or whatever you want to call it, because I do believe that there are shocked quartz crystals in these rocks from what I'm seeing. But there are a large number of these out here, as well as a huge number of quartzites. And I've seen just a huge number of quartzites. Whoops, almost forgot my shovel and my metal detector. So there's a huge number of quartzite and this green stuff where I live. As a matter of fact, those two rocks are probably, I would say, either the most common rocks or among the most common rocks. It's really hard to quantify that because there's so many different rocks, and in order to really take a real dive into that, you'd have to sit there with, you know, a spreadsheet and document every single one. So what I've just been doing at my house is piling up rocks into piles of different types, so I can just at least get some visual indication of, you know, commonality or density of each type, which I feel will tell me a little bit. And I think the fact that there's a large number of quartzite does tell us a little bit. because quartzite is a metamorphic rock that is formed from sandstone or a conglomerate that gets enough heat and pressure or both to crystallize. So sand that's normally granular in the stone becomes basically one blob of kind of like melted together silica, which is exactly what quartzite looks like under a microscope. So at least the quartzite that I'm finding in Michigan. So anyways, I found a salamander. And I'm back in the crater with my metal detector and my bigger backpack so I can get some more samples from this spot, because these rocks here are just a massive diversity. A lot of really cool pretty ones, a lot of rocks that look like they definitely were at the bottom of a lake at one point in time, and salamander. I think that may be oh shoot, I forget what it's called. Starts with a C, I think. I'll have to try and remember it. So one thing that that I'm really looking for is indication that this pile was part of mud before. And I'm finding a really large number of these rocks that have other rocks glued to them, which would indicate that they were part of a giant mud ball, because basically it formed a cement, and this is just one other rock in the cement, and all these other little rocks got attached to it while it was in that mud ball. And there are tons of these around here. They're literally all over the place. Like here's one that has this crust with this same thing on it. And at my house, what I found is just a lot of rocks with just a ton of crust on it. That actually might be a garnet. This kind of has a red color to it. But there's just a lot of rocks. See, like this is another one here. You see all this attached kind of like cement residue. I think that was basically the remains of the mud ball that this was all part of when it traveled here, which is crazy, but this is definitely seems like an impact site. So many cool rocks. These are among the most prevalent, just like at my house. Again, don't know what they're called, but they're like a green banded thing. And they clearly have a lot of that, residue on it. Like I was saying, I've been taking my Dremel tool to kind of clean it off to see what's underneath it. The rocks I'm finding here are definitely a lot cleaner than the ones at my house, but they definitely have that kind of residue. And there are a lot of these little green rocks. Here's another one with kind of a micro mud film attached to it. Here's another one. So here I am again at the bottom of the secondary impact site, and I found what I definitely would class as a piece of impact breccia. So what impact breccia is a conglomerate that has angular pieces in its consistency, and I would say almost every single piece in this conglomerate is angular. In addition to that, this piece of conglomerate is held together by green silty mud. So this is definitely what you would expect the mud to look like. And I'm sorry about the focus. This is what you would expect the mud to look like, at the bottom of a lake, where you've got a bunch of decaying plant matter that's just kind of collecting, and then all that plant matter is shot up along with a mixture of gravel being forced through a hard impact. So this is definitely impact breccia, and I would be willing to bet that this came from Lake Huron in the Saginaw Bay. I have a larger piece of this that I'm pretty sure is impact breccia that's among the rocks that are at CMU being quantified by CMU's geology department. We'll see if they call it impact breccia. Anyways, yeah. Oh my God, I need water. I just about pushed that backpack beyond its very limits. It's like basically entirely full of rocks. I'm not joking. It's got to weigh close to 300 pounds. I can't believe I got it on my shoulders. But I carried it all the way down from the hill up there down to the car. And it was not a fun walk because there are multiple secondary impact sites that are all big craters. So I was basically just trying to stay on top of all of them. Once I got that big bag to the top of the crater, which was, I actually carried that out of the bottom of the crater. I mean, I basically got down there and just started looking for all the rocks that showed me any kind of sign of being, like these ones clearly show a sign of being part of the big mud ball. And almost every rock up there that you pick up has this kind of gluey cement residue where it had been stuck to a bunch of other things. Many of the rocks actually have other rocks stuck to them still. I got a bunch of those in the bag. But yeah, and the water heater from the other place on this property, which all looks like this kind of junky ass terrible mess. And boy, I tell you what, somebody's got to get out here and clean this up, because this is just, I mean, it's just littered with litter. But holy, the rocks are amazing here. And I am pretty much convinced this is a secondary impact site. So if anybody wants to come check this out with me, hit me up in the comments or message me or whatever. And now I'm home. I've got to unload, and you can see some of my piles of rocks. Those rocks over there are all the quartzites that I found. In addition to those in those bins are mostly quartzites. There's a few of them, like that big one right there is a quartzite that I haven't sorted over there yet. As you can see, I'm collecting and sorting all these green rocks together because they're the rocks that I seem to be finding what appears to be shocked quartz in. Tiny little quartz crystals that are all fractured. And these are the rocks that I brought home from, this was bag one, and some of the things that I had in my pocket. So this was what I was carrying with me. This backpack. And these are the ones that I brought with me from that trip. And this one, this really big one, I was just kind of fascinated by, because it's these green rocks. This seems like it very well may have been a part of the seafloor, because it's like a green sedimentary rock, but it's also got the concrete residue, this yellow line in there, and that's apparent on a lot of these other rocks. See, here's one that has it. This I think that is basically where it was attached to the mud ball of ice. You can see this one here has those little bits on it. There's a lot of quartzite. This one is also a pudding stone. That's quartzite. And again, it's got some of that residue on it. Here's another pudding stone. This is another, something with residue, and that might be an agate. It's kind of hard to tell if it's transparent or not. Another piece of sedimentary green stuff, which again, I think this is actually former Lake Huron lake bottom, all layered up. That one's kind of hard to tell. It's really, really covered in stuff. This one I just grabbed because it's got a little like pink and red in there. Hard to say what this one is until I get it a little cleaner. And this is a very, very large grained one of these green rocks that I'm finding, and this one has really big, lines in it like that. I tend to find crystals and other things inside these rocks when I peel away a little bit of the patina. Here's another thing with cement residue on it. And again, it's hard to tell what this is, but it looks like it's a piece of quartzite. I'll have to clean that one up a little bit. Anyways, moving on. This is the big bag, and just to give myself a reward for hauling all these rocks back, there was one pudding stone at the very, very end that here. I'm just going to set this here. Okay, so now I can actually get these out. This is a pudding stone that I grabbed at the very end. This has got to be about 20 pounds worth of pudding stone, maybe more. So yeah, hopefully that'll clean up nice, but that just had to come with me because it's a pudding stone. It's got green on it. That's interesting. I wonder what that's from. I've never, might be mold or something. Okay, let me dump the rest of these guys out. Oh yeah, and I had my cold pan with me because I was going to do some panning if I ever found the river, which I really never found, so that never got used. Okay, and so these are, this is another piece that has a lot of that cement residue on it. Don't know what it is inside. It's kind of hard to tell, but there, pretty much every rock in that crater had some amount of this residue stuff on it. And here's, you can see the signs from it, and there's one little rock stuck to it right there. It's another one of those green rocks that I don't know what the proper name is for it, but I'm sure I'll find out soon enough. This is another really, really weird shaped thing. I don't know what this one is either. This one was really cool. I think that may be a bloodstone. It's kind of hard to say. But again, it's got some of that residue on it. And black and red and clear, translucent in this guy. That one's really cool. That should polish up well. Here's another one with lots of that stuff. This is actually, looks like a, possibly a unikite. It's got a little green epidote in there and red, and those are probably actually more like green lines, the other dark lines. This one might be impact breccia. It's got the jaggedy inclusion in there. That one is another piece of quartzite, I think. But you can see how it's so super glassy. Oh, this one's pretty dirty, but it is very smooth to the touch, very hard. So anyways, yeah, these are the rocks that I brought back from the crater site. Now that's an interesting looking piece. Hard to say what that is right now. Lots of pits in it and stuff. So anyways, cleaned up the woods from trash and picked up a bunch of rocks today. One of these things. These do look really cool though. When you cut them up, they're usually a pretty nice dark pattern. So I'm gonna hopefully use some of these for tile in my house when I get a bunch of them chopped up. I've got a few of them cut up right now, but not nearly enough to do that with. There's pieces of quartzite. My diamond tester tests all of these quartzite pieces as diamonds, FYI. So these very well may be impact diamonds. I've also looked at a lot of videos on YouTube which show impact diamonds, and they look just like this. So they're all different colors, but they all have that waxy kind of look to them. They're all very hard. There's a lot of that stuff all around Michigan, but at that site where it's just at, there's tons of this stuff. That looks like a piece of carnelian. Here's another possible impact diamond or quartzite.